Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm here with my 72-hour review of the new OnePlus 6T. So, like I said before, I've never used a OnePlus device before, so I was very excited and a little bit cautious whenever I was first had the opportunity to go get this the other day. But one of the nice things about the new OnePlus model is this is the first time you've ever been able to walk in and pick up one of their phones off a store shelf. So you can go into T-Mobile and you can buy one straight from T-Mobile, all that good stuff, which is great. Because you don't have to just look at it on Amazon or eBay or wherever else you're going to buy it and go, I hope it works out. I really like to be able to get my hands on a phone and look at it in person as opposed to just buying it abstractly based off of looking at it. It's kind of like jewelry, kind of like buying a car. You don't do that online. You want to buy it in person. So this has been a good experience, I think, because I've really been enjoying the device, and I sit here and I think to myself, if this phone is so good, why am I paying so much money like for my iPhone XS Max? It's like, oh my gosh, the phone's just twice as much and this phone is so good. So this one is $579. It's got the 128 gigs of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 6.41 inch AMOLED display. It's got a 3700 milliamp battery. It's got a fingerprint sensor built into the screen. Of course, they don't have wireless charging. There's no built-in headphone jack, but you do get a mute switch, which is pretty much exclusive in Android, which is really nice. You can turn the sound off. It's got dual camera setup on the back, 16 megapixel and 20 megapixel. You get your portrait mode, all the bees, knees, bells, whistles, everything you can ask for. So that's one of the reasons why they call it the flagship killer. I mean, it's just a fantastic phone. And one thing I really have to give kudos to OnePlus on is it comes with this screen protector. It's a film style, but it's actually pretty good from what I can tell. I've been very happy with it. And they give you a case that comes straight in the box with it. So, I mean, you really can't beat that. The only other phone manufacturer I know that does that is Blue, B-L-U. I've reviewed a lot of their devices, and it's really nice that theirs come with the screen protector in a case. So when I opened this up, I was like, sweet, it's got a screen protector in a case. Because that's one of the first things you have to do is you got to order one. And it's like, well, I don't want to pay $50 for the case and $45 for the ZAG screen protector while I'm here at the store and add $100 onto what I'm already paying for the phone. So this gives you a little bit of time that you can think about it. You can go home, look at it if you don't already have one ready and available, knowing that you're going to purchase this device in advance. So there are some cool things. Now we're looking here. You can see the little fingerprint sensor outlined down there. And this is the ambient display. So basically if you just move your phone at all, it kicks it in. But whenever you're sitting here at the screen, they've got these quick gestures built in. So if you want to turn the flashlight on, you just draw a V. So pretty cool. Works both ways. I have it set up where S goes to the camera. So draw an S there. So you get to the camera, which is cool. One thing you need to worry about though is you can't write the S in reverse. So if you start at the bottom and work your way up, the S is no worky. So I don't know if that was a production oversight or something they just didn't catch on or assume that everyone was going to write an S like this. But if you do it the other way, it don't work. So you can pre-program them. You can also do a V, you can do a W, and you can do an O. Like I have an O set up for Boom Beach, which, yes, I'm still playing it. And the face detection on this is really, really good. I was honestly very surprised by that because a lot of them, and it's not really an overly advertised feature, especially because they have this built-in fingerprint sensor into the screen. Now, whenever you first open it up, you're going to have that little plastic down here that talks about it. You can't press anywhere you want down here. You have to press right here where the icon is at. And if the icon is not illuminated, it doesn't work. So if the screen is completely in standby mode, it doesn't work. So the little fingerprint sensor icon has to be there. Now you can double tap to wake, and then it'll get you there. Or if you have ambient display on, you basically just move and it gets there. But I really don't think that it's very slow at all. I mean, it works good. The only thing that I have an issue with is I'm not used to it. Every time I pick up the phone, and I'm also bouncing back and forth between, I've got the Note 9, I've got the Pixel. They have the fingerprint sensor on the back, so every time I reach for this, naturally my finger's going to the back trying to find a fingerprint sensor. So it's actually really nice. This is almost a secondary unlock mechanism for me though, because the facial recognition is just so good. I mean, it's really good. So I give them definitely credit for that as well. They did a good job. So the overall experience. This is probably the fastest phone that I've ever used. I may need to go ahead and get my Note 9 and the Pixel and put all three of them next to each other, and we can look at 3 Android flagships all running a SnapDragon 845 and just kind of do a side-by-side comparison. Of course, you're going to have some different, there's intricacies, there's details and nuances to each of them. Of course, this is running the Oxygen version of Android 9.0, which is really good. I've never used it before, but I like it a lot. I like it better than the native version that's on the Pixel because it's still got the software buttons down here. But you can go in and you can program it to where you can make it only gestures. Because right now it's gesture based and it's also got the buttons. So if I want to get to the app drawer, I just swipe up, swipe back down. And then you got, of course, the menu. And then it's very much an Android 8.0 feeling, but it's actually Android 9. But you can change it and you can make it all gesture based, just like the Pixel. Or you can make it where there's just a back button. It's really cool. You can customize some stuff on here and it's nice. And I think that goes into the whole never settle thing. It's very powerful, lots of power, a lot under the hood. It works well, but you also get some customization in the features as well. So there's no gimmicks with this phone. It's not like, oh, we've got the squeeze feature like the Pixel to get to the Google Assistant. There's no dedicated button. What you see is what you get. You've got the volume buttons over here, which work, I mean, they work well. You got the mute switch here, then you got your power button for your on-off display, and then you've got your camera up here up top. Now, I will go through and I'll show you some of the pictures that I took. The slow-mo is good. I wish that you could have a higher resolution because if you want to do the full 240 frames per second, I believe it was only at 720p. So we'll pull it up and look at it real quick because I don't want to tell you wrong. So, slow motion. Okay, now you can do 1080p at 240 frames per second or 720p at 480. So you got to go to 720 to get to 480. So I wish that was at 1080p, but it's not. Pictures. I'm going to put a link down in the drop down. I went into downtown Houston and I took a whole bunch of pictures. Now, just to give you a sample while we're looking here, I did go take some pictures of some of the cool buildings down there. I don't know how well this is going to translate over as far as looks, because it's not going to capture the color and the quality as well as it will, looking at the actual digital image. I took lots of different shots just so I could make sure that I got good solid ones to show. But overall, let me turn the brightness up just a little bit. Okay. So it's not going to translate as well as it will looking at the actual images and the links, but you can see, you can see the clarity that's there. It takes really good quality pictures, and I was super impressed. I've never, like I said, I've never used a OnePlus phone before, but for the amount of money that I paid for this phone at the $579 price point, I think it takes amazing pictures, and you're going to be super happy with it. Video quality is good. Just a couple of things also, and it's all in the details. So one thing I really like about this is if you want to swipe down, you get to the menu. If you want to adjust the brightness, you go to the next one. It's cool because if you hold the volume slider, the brightness slider, it shows you on the screen and it takes the quick settings menu out of the way, which is really nice. And allows you to see what you're doing, and you can see what the screen's actually going to look like with the brightness there. Now, it's got the blue light filter. You can set all that stuff in there. All the basic stuff. It's got a reading mode. It's got a gaming mode. But it's all fully integrated. It works really, really well. Now, of course, you do have Google here. Google is built in. You can say, "Okay, Google," and get yourself to the Google Assistant. I don't have that turned on right now because I don't like to have the voice support for mine. As far as power and performance, it works really, really well. So I'll just go to Yahoo real quick. It's very quick. I've not had any problems with it whatsoever. It doesn't slow down. It's not something that's going to get sluggish on you. Over time, I know people have had worries with like the Samsung devices, and they say that over time they get slower. I haven't really had that problem, but I don't really keep my phones for a year or two, so it may be a long-term consideration. But overall, I've been really impressed with it. The fingerprint sensor works great. Now, some of the downsides, the haptic feedback on it is not very good. It's like cheap knockoff brand quality vibration motor in there for the haptic feedback, so it's not very good. Another consideration is the 3.5mm headphone jack. I know some people have some heartburn over that. I feel like it's kind of a logical progression at this point. I know that they got some flack because they gave other people, some flack about taking out the 3.5mm headphone jack. But it's curious that they didn't, if they were going to take the 3.5mm headphone jack out of there and they weren't going to worry about having wireless charging, it seems like they would put one or the other in there. So either put the 3.5mm headphone jack or put wireless charging. I mean, they both take up space. Of course, they did throw a 3700 milliamp battery in here, which is really good. But at the same time, it's kind of curious because it also doesn't have any, it doesn't have water and dust resistance, you know, at the IP rating of 6.7 or 6.8. I think it's like IPX4 or something. It's basically, it keeps dust out of your phone. But it doesn't have IP68, it doesn't have IP67, so you can't throw it in the water. You can't go in 3 feet, can't go in 6 feet, can't be in there for any amount of time. So make sure you keep this clear of water. You don't have the headphone jack. Of course, it does have a dongle, which is perfectly fine. That's pretty much what everyone does. Of course, there's also Bluetooth accessories out the wazoo that you can use now, and then no wireless charging. And you know, the wireless charging, I'm actually a little bit more upset with than I thought I was going to be, because primarily I use my iPhone. I have one charging cable next to my bed. I don't like having multiple charging cables because it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I use my wireless charger for my Android device, for my secondary phone. So I keep going and I want to put this on the charger at night and I can't, so I have to have another cord plugged in. Now, if you're just using one phone, which probably 99.9% of the world does, then you're more than likely going to be all right with it, no issues. So just plug it in with the included USB-C cable. Charges really fast. Another cool thing, I didn't mention this, it does have Gorilla Glass 6 on it, which is the first flagship phone I know of that's come out with it. It's supposed to be absolutely amazing. So I've covered most of the other specs. It is a true flagship killer phone, and you know, a lot of people throw that name around. It's been floating around for a while, especially with regard to OnePlus, because that's what they were designed for. And people talk about the price. They don't like that it inches up every year. Well, you're still talking about $579 for a SnapDragon 845, 128 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM. It has Band 71 LTE for T-Mobile for the 600 megahertz spectrum. It's got 402 pixel per inch density. It's 1080 by 2340 pixels. It's got a 6.41 inch optic AMOLED capacitive screen. It's running Android 9.0 Pie with Oxygen. It's got everything you could possibly want for it. It even has a 16 megapixel selfie camera on the front, and it's got Bluetooth 5. So it has everything. And it has everything you could possibly want, and the screen actually looks really good. I was concerned about it, especially they talked about like the jelly effect and things like that with some of the past OnePlus devices, but this panel is actually really good. The contrast and the brightness on it, and it's probably not going to show up very well, but it looks really, really good. I mean, you can see the color saturation. Of course, it's going to be dimmer because I'm using my phone to record this, but the brightness and the saturation and the color balance on the screen is really, really good. Oh, and one other downside is the speaker. The speaker, one, is not very good, and two, it's terribly placed. It's right here. So when you're holding it, it's like it's muffled all the time because it's always being covered up by your hand. So that's pretty much the only other negative. So you've got no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, no IP68, 6.7 water and dust resistance. You've got no wireless charging, did I say that? And you've got the speaker in the bad place. So, but other than that, $579. Everything else is like a Porsche under the hood getting out the door, and I like it a lot. I think it really makes you think seriously about why you're paying $800,000-$900,000 for a phone when you get something like this that works so well. I'm a huge fan. I like it a lot. I may get rid of something else and keep this one because the price point is just too good, and I've really been enjoying using it. It's just a little bit different than the regular flavors of Android that are out there, but it works so well. Anyway, that's all I've got. This is the OnePlus 6T. They've got the really good trade-in deal at T-Mobile right now. I traded in my Moto Z2 Force and they gave me $300 trade-in credit, so I mean, I couldn't really turn that down because it was just sitting on the shelf. But if you're with T-Mobile, great trade-in deal. It even works with Verizon if you get the unlocked whitelisted version, so that's really cool too. Anyway, that's all I got. If you have any questions, leave them down in the drop-down section. I will more than gladly answer them and get back to you. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time.